Russia has a plan for Turkey and for the Muslim countries. Now, we know right now, before I tell you more about Turkey and Russia's relationship, I want to tell you a few things. Number one, Russia now is on edge. They are now considering a nuclear attack on some of these small countries, Nordic nations, the Baltic nations, Scandinavian nations, whatever you call them. These countries, Sweden, especially for now, Sweden, they have confirmed that they are going to be joining the NATO membership. Now, why I said Russia is planning or preparing for nuclear attack, it is because Russia, from the very get-go, they mentioned countries like Finland, which has a border with Russia around 810 kilometer miles or 1300 kilometers something roughly. This country, Finland, is with Russia, and also they have border with other country. I believe it is Sweden. So Finland, if they do join NATO, and they are saying that we are going to be joining NATO, because they have a border with Russia, Russia is going to consider Finland as a direct threat to Russia's sovereignty. So what Russia did and what they have said they will do is that they are going to be repositioning their nuclear weapons along Finnish border, along Polish border, along Swedish border. Why? Because this is the only way they can deter these countries from joining NATO or having a huge impact on Russia's safety and security. So we know Russia cannot obviously fight with NATO. By looking at current situation, anybody can say Russia has come out as a very, very weak country. A lot of people are saying, now you might say, well, you are pro-Western. No, I'm not. Take a look at this war. It's almost now 3 months. Russia did not win nothing. So Russia is going to not take on NATO directly. What they will do is they are going to attack these smaller countries. So dear brothers and sisters, when we talk about end of time malhama, this is a time, okay, this is a very, very important time. Things are going to pivot. It did in the past when Russia attacked Ukraine. Immediately Finland, Sweden, they took notice and they said, you know what, even though we were neutral, but now after the invasion things have changed. So things have pivoted, and so the power dynamic, especially in that region with Russia and this rest of these countries, Nordic nations, has shifted, has changed quite a bit. So why I said Russia might go after Turkey, eventually invading them. The reason for that is simple. Turkey, a lot of people, they are saying, well, Turkey should never be part of NATO. Turkey, in the long run, may not be part of NATO. Why? Because Turkey is having some big problem. Sweden, Finland joining NATO. Turkey, in fact, they have blasted NATO. They're saying that we cannot just expand NATO to these countries. They blasted these countries. So at one point, this is what I understand after looking at the recent developments. What I can understand is that at one point Turkey might leave NATO because of too many differences in how they are conducting their operation, how they are including other nations. Turkey is objecting to. Once Turkey leaves NATO, Russia, they are going to come after Turkey. Why? Because Turkey is the most vulnerable at that time. Russia knows they cannot attack Sweden, Finland, Denmark, because they can only use nukes. They cannot go and send their troops and fight these countries because then US will get involved. The only way Russia can fight these countries is through nukes, and they do not want to use it because no country wants to use nuclear weapon, especially when you really do not need it. And Putin knows that these countries joining NATO should not trigger him to reposition his nuclear arsenal and launch one against one of these countries. Putin knows this is not something, an existential threat for them. So Putin will forget about these countries and they are going to come after Turkey. Turkey has a very bad relationship with almost all NATO countries. France, Germany, US in fact is imposing sanctions on them. So once Turkey comes under attack by Russia, nobody is going to come to the rescue of Turkey. Turkey will find itself without allies, other than maybe some Middle Eastern countries will give them weapon and go and fight. But the point here is that at one point we might see an invasion of Turkey by Russia. And dear brothers and sisters, when we talk at the end of time Malhama and we say how the Mahdi will open, Constantinople, this is how this will be first conquered by Russia, and this is when the Mahdi will appear and he will open Constantinople from the clutch of the Romans. That includes Russia. But we'll talk more about the Romans and World War III later in a separate video. Today's video, I just wanted to give you some snippet so that you have an idea what is going on and why I personally believe Turkey is at a much greater risk with Russia than it was ever before. Thank you for joining. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.